Hey guys, so now that we've actually taken a look at all 12 days in the Arteza Advent Calendar for 2021, it's time for us to actually put the art supplies inside to the challenge and complete all 12 days of the Arteza Holidays Challenge. So, spoiler, I've already done that. I've already painted 12 plus little mini acrylic illustrations, and I've been sharing them on TikTok and in the YouTube Shorts. So if you guys have been following along, you have a pretty good idea of what I've been painting this holiday season. But if you've been saving yourself and you don't want any of those kind of spoilers, then I have all 12 challenges for you guys today. This is also going to give me a chance to talk about the challenge prompts and the materials included in the advent calendar, as well as materials that I grabbed from some of the other art kits that I've reviewed from Arteza, not sent to me by Arteza, but that I purchased from Arteza, since I figured that was kind of the fairest way to actually judge this advent calendar and to judge Arteza art supplies. So I've got everything that I used minus the brushes and the palette here in this little bag. I think I also took out the eraser because I've been using that. So I did most of my challenges on the mini pad of Arteza acrylic paper. I used the Arteza HB pencil from one of the kits. I used the brushes from the advent calendar as well as from the metallic mixed media kit. And I also augmented because I found that the acrylics that Arteza sent, it just wasn't enough to actually paint the challenges they gave us without just going monochrome on many days. So I did augment with several acrylics from the Arteza mixed media metallic art kit. So I have done some augmenting because, like I said, this advent calendar didn't include everything I needed, so I assume Arteza is assuming that you're going to be adding in some stuff as well. I mean, that's the best guess I've got. So here we are at the desktop where we have a little bit of a better view of the advent calendar itself. So as you guys can see on the back, it lists everything that's in this advent calendar. So we have an acrylic paper pad, small wood slices, acrylic paint tubes, acrylic metallic markers with a fine nib, acrylic marker fine nib. So I think I got, oh, that would be the black, okay. And acrylic round brush in a size 4. And then there is our QR code, which we'll take a look at in a minute. And then here is our social media information. So I borrowed Joseph's phone for this. Here is the QR code. See if I can get it to work on a phone, not mine. Is this it? I was waiting for it to load, but it's not bringing anything up. Let me try that again. Okay, camera, QR code, clickety clickety. Yeah, nothing. Okay, I'm gonna try it on my phone and let you guys know if it actually brings anything up. All right, here we go. Sorry about the view being dumb. Here is a post about their advent calendar. There is an ad for their holiday deals. Love that. So here is the hashtag. Here is 2 links. Let's try the 24-day since that's what we have. Yes, I know you provide cookies. Okay, so here it actually explains what's in each day plus the challenges in case you just totally rip the doors off. Since we're going to go through that day by day, I don't see any point in reading these for you guys again because it's what was on the doors. I was really hoping it would include some suggestions or tutorials or maybe even videos of somebody actually creating these to inspire younger artists. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case. So while that was a little bit disappointing, that's okay. I know how to use these materials, and I guess I don't mind explaining them. I was kind of hoping Arteza would have done that so I could just point you guys to the site, but that is all right. So we have already been through, torn up all 12 days of this calendar. So if you, whoa, okay, I was not intending to like just rip off all that, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all the doors, and we're going to do each challenge one by one. So I'm going to remove the doors and take out the art supplies, and that way we can get cracking. So here's something weird and kind of annoying. The blog post, which I'll link for you guys down in the description below, actually has a challenge for day 1 and day 2, even though the doors themselves don't have a challenge at all. This is frustrating because honestly, I really try to talk a lot about accessibility, and since I teach a lot of younger artists, many of them have very limited internet access, including no YouTube and no navigating to strange websites. So there's a high probability that some of the people who receive this calendar are not going to be able to just go to the Arteza blog whenever they want to. So I really want to see everything involved with this challenge or involved with this advent calendar actually in the advent calendar itself, because otherwise you're really only getting part of a gift. So the fact that there's a QR code on the exterior packaging, not a link to the website in addition to a QR code, just a QR code, and not everybody's phones are capable of, you know, opening a QR code, and some people don't want to do things, frankly, on their phone, or don't want their kids doing things on their phone. It really limits who this is for in a way that it doesn't need to be limited. This isn't like for ages 15 and up. This isn't for, oh, hey, you better have a cell phone, or, oh, hey, you better have internet access. So I point that out because it does actually change how this gift can be enjoyed. And I grew up in the 2000s, and I wasn't allowed internet access, like any internet access, until I was 14. So I think about that a lot, and accessibility, and parents, you know, trying to protect their kids and keeping an eye on what their kids are consuming may have a problem with their kids using their phone to use a QR code to navigate to a site that the parents haven't had a chance to vet yet. And I think that's something that's really important for Arteza to consider themselves when packaging next year's advent calendars. Our day 1 first product challenge is to depict what the beginning of the holiday season looks like for you. And here's my other complaint. At this point, we would have only received one thing: no pencils, no erasers, nothing, just the paper. And if you were staying at a relative's house and you'd been given this as a gift, you might not have access to your normal art supplies. So something for Arteza to consider in the future is including with this, perhaps, a pencil, an eraser, and a small sharpener. Those would add very little overhead costs for Arteza, but would actually make it possible for someone to start this challenge on day 1. So for this advent calendar, I was kind of hoping that I could take what came with each day and just work with that and everything that came in the subsequent days. I thought that's how this was designed, but it seems like day 1 and day 2 both want you to draw and paint something. So I'm going to kind of change my plans, and I'm just going to use everything that came in the advent calendar as one whole unit. I'm kind of iffy about that because that's not really in the spirit of advent calendars, but I'm just going to roll with it. I'm just pointing it out because if you're purchasing this for someone, or if you're asking for this, or if you've received this, I do think that's a point that Arteza needs to consider, is how this is actually going to be consumed. So with that in mind, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start by swatching, unboxing, you know, my usual unbox and swatch all of these products for you while actually talking about these products and kind of explaining what they do and what they're used for, since I was really hoping the Arteza site would do that, and it doesn't seem like they did. So your auntie here will just fill in for you. So we have a bunch of tubes of acrylic paint. These seem to be pretty good sized tubes. They're bigger than the tubes that came in either of the kits. We also have a few of the acrylic markers. We have 3 of them to be exact. And we also have some wood slices. And if you're curious about whether or not this advent calendar is actually worth the money you paid, you guys can check out either my day 12 or the full review that I'm in the process of working on. So in our 12 days of Arteza mass, we received 1 pad of acrylic paper. We received 3 wood slices. We received 3 acrylic markers. We received 6 acrylics in tubes. 3 of them are metallic, 3 of them are normal opacity, and we received 1 single lonely acrylic brush in a size 4. So everything so far in the advent calendar has been all right. The acrylics are a little heavier bodied than the ones in the mixed media kit I reviewed for you guys, but this size 4 round is a joke for covering larger areas. Why didn't they just include a flat? I know they have them. And while the acrylic markers flow well, the plastic nibs seem to tear up the acrylic paper because this paper doesn't have any kind of a coating on it the way some of their other acrylic papers do. It tears up the paper surface if you have to go over the same area a few times. So since Arteza didn't send everything I needed for these challenges in this advent calendar, I decided that in the sake of fairness, both to me as an artist and to Arteza as a company, I am going to augment this challenge with some of the Arteza art supplies that came in those 2 kits I reviewed for you guys. So that means I have a few more wood rounds, I have some more brushes, I have a plastic eraser, I've got some white gel pens. I grabbed a couple of their mixing palettes because for some reason they did not include any. And I grabbed a couple of pencils and an eraser because that's one of the things this kit dearly needs that would not cost Arteza hardly any additional money whatsoever. Is this entirely fair to you guys? No. Not really. I really think that if they're going to give us challenges, they should include everything we need to complete those challenges. But y'all, I can't just go straight to something in acrylic. I'm just not that kind of artist. So definitely at least need the pencils. So here's something I wasn't going to show you guys, but I think it's actually kind of important. I was trying to remove my first sheet off the block and it tears. Yeah. That's not great. I guess I'm gonna cut it off with an X-Acto knife.
Day 1's door red. To ring in the first day of this special time of year, we've provided you with a miniature version of our best-selling acrylic pads. The portable size of this acrylic pad makes it ideal for countless winter arts and crafts projects. And the challenge is to depict what the beginning of the holiday season looks like for you with hashtag Arteza Holidays. So inside this little door, they included 1 acrylic pad, 16 sheets, 4 inches by 4 inches, and I feel like the holiday season could go year round if retailers were allowed to do so. I generally try to ignore Christmas until at least after Thanksgiving. Otherwise, I'd go just bonkers. So I guess to me, the beginning of the holiday season starts with October. So I decided to paint a jack-o'-lantern. And I'm using an additional variety of art supplies to complete these challenges because frankly, I really just found that what Arteza included in this 12-day calendar wasn't really sufficient for my needs. So I also grabbed some additional acrylics from the art kits as well as the Arteza pencils and the Arteza brushes, also from the art kits, and the Arteza plastic palette, just a bunch of stuff. I'll go into that a little bit more later on. So day 2 was an acrylic round brush, and the door says, welcome this fabulous paintbrush to your collection. This number 4 round brush is suitable for acrylics, oil paints, washes, and mica powders. Well-crafted round paintbrushes are an essential for painters of all skill levels. Use this premium acrylic round brush for today's creative challenge. Be sure to share your works of art with us on social media with hashtag Arteza Holidays. And the challenge was to create a painting of a gorgeous Christmas garland. So that kind of gets into the quality of Arteza art supplies in general. While some are better than others, I am not a fan of their acrylics or the materials designed to go with their acrylics. So the first thing is that little pad of paper is super absorbent. So if you're going to use that pad of paper with acrylics, you basically need to apply kind of a sacrificial lamb layer. You need to apply a layer that's going to be your ground, and then it'll make it a lot more receptive to using for watercolor. The acrylics that they have are just very weird. They're kind of thin. They're very glooby. You can kind of tell they're full of extenders. They don't really want to mix well, and I basically have to like slop them onto the paper. That's why you see so much textural work in this challenge. And I think that's why a lot of the art made with the Arteza acrylics that they use to promote the Arteza acrylics demonstrates a lot of impasto techniques. It's basically the way you're going to get these to work. They really don't want to blend on the paper, so you just kind of have to slop them on there and hope for the best. And the brushes paired with these acrylics are just not a good match either. This kind of doubles down on what I have to say about like slopping them down onto the paper. However, I did start to realize that I might have misjudged acrylics in general. Not Arteza acrylics, their acrylics are not particularly good, but acrylics as a medium in general. So day 3 is an acrylic paint tube, our first acrylic paint tube in Scarlet Red. This Scarlet Red tube of premium acrylic paint will come in handy for today's creative challenge. Our acrylic paints can be used on their own or diluted with water. Making the creative possibilities endless. Each 22 milliliter of our well-loved acrylic paint tubes is filled with pigment-packed paints that pack a punch. Use this tube of super blendable paint to create a beautiful holiday theme painting. That's literally the opposite of everything I just said. I disagree with everything in that statement. Challenge 3. We challenge you to paint a portrait of the one, the only Santa Claus. Don't forget to add a little extra paint to his rosy red cheeks. We hope you share your painting with us on social media with hashtag Arteza Holidays. So to get that sort of skin tone, I mixed a yellow from one of my Arteza art kits with white and with the red to get this kind of peachy color. And I feel like if you were doing this challenge with just the materials in the advent calendar, there's a lot of days that just don't really quite line up with what they've given you. And for these kind of challenges, I go by kind of the art snacks method, where you should be able to use everything you were already given to make something. However, since that was not the case and I needed to use secondary materials, I decided to just grab other Arteza materials just to try to be as fair as possible. Now, I really did have a lot of blending and mixing issues with this. Even with his skin, I wasn't able to get the nice smooth sort of mixes or transitions, but in a way it was kind of good because it really kind of forced me not to overthink things too much. And in the beginning of the challenge, I was spending about 30 minutes each day on the challenge, whereas as we kind of progress and I get more used to what these acrylics are capable of and get used to using acrylics again, I start spending about an hour on each challenge. So for day number 4, we got a tube of acrylic paint, again in yellow green. This yellow green tube of our premium acrylic paint will pair wonderfully with the tube you received yesterday. We gifted you another tube of our heavily pigmented acrylic paint to assist you in today's challenge. Challenge number 4, paint a family of cozy Christmas trees. Hashtag Arteza Holidays. That's kind of another issue I have with this calendar. We purchased this calendar and they're using a lot of gift language, and I realize they're trying to be kind of holiday spirit, but it's absolutely not a gift. You paid for this, and I don't think they gave you anything for free in this calendar. There was nothing in this calendar that you did not pay for. So in order to get a Christmas tree kind of green, I did have to grab some additional acrylics from my other set. So that would have been a gift. The gift of enough colors would have been in the gift. So I also decided, I started doing the challenges after I had opened all the days of the calendar, and that gave me access to colors that I would not have otherwise have had. If I had just been working with what I was given for each day, I wouldn't have been able to do anything at all for day 1 and for day 2. And for Santa, he would have just been monochrome red. And for these trees, they would have just been that really bright sort of spring green. So I do have some issues with kind of the color selection they've given us. If you were hoping to do the challenges with just what came in the calendar, everything would look kind of weird. And in order to remove the previous day's sheet after allowing it to dry fully, I am trying to do 2 challenges each day, but I do try to give each challenge plenty of time to dry fully. I can't just tear it off. I actually have to use an X-Acto blade to peel it off. I will say that their metallics actually mix decently well with other colors, so that kind of extends the range I'm able to get. And I also tried to limit myself mostly to only grabbing primary colors or like a black and a brown, just colors that I felt like I really needed to be able to execute each challenge well. So you guys will see that I'm doing some underpainting with the white. It's because these acrylics just have basically no pigment and they have no oomph. So I wanted to create a white ground that I could use so that the colors would pop a little bit better, and then I could use colored backgrounds. And this is a technique that I really rely on heavily to make those bright colors pop as we go on. So for day number 5, we received another acrylic metallic tube, or another acrylic tube. This time it's a metallic in Pearl Sapphire Blue. Our premium acrylic metallic paints offer a little extra dazzle. Use this shimmery acrylic paint to complete today's creative challenge. Don't forget to tag us on social media and use the hashtag Arteza Holidays for your chance to win. Challenge number 5. Deck the halls with a painting of Christmas tree ornaments using your new Pearl Sapphire Blue acrylic metallic paint tube. The metallic finish on this paint is perfect for painting shiny holiday ornaments. See for yourself by joining countless artists from across the globe in today's artistic challenge. Hashtag Arteza Holidays. And I wanted to do some nice retro glass ornaments in a variety of colors, but I did want the blue to be the most standout, the primary sort of element here. I think I did go too much with the other colors, but I think the blue is still pretty noticeable. In order to get some volume on the blue, I also added in some phthalo blue to that sapphire blue just so that we could start getting some depth of color. I also found that I really didn't use the acrylic paint markers that they included very much at all. Part of the reason is the paint has to be absolutely dry for you to use it, which is kind of a duh, but it didn't really work so well with my schedule. Another reason is they kind of sputter on the paper. If there's any unevenness in the surface, they can kind of flick paint everywhere, which could be useful, I think, in certain circumstances, but just didn't really work well for any of the things that I was painting. And while I originally thought I would do everything with kind of a heavy line graphic style, a cartoony style, I found that I was really enjoying the impasto and sort of rougher effects. So for day number 6, we received another tube of metallic acrylic paint in Pearl Rose. 2 is better than 1, which is why we provided you with another premium acrylic metallic paint tube. You can blend our premium acrylic paints with our premium acrylic metallic paints to create dazzling works of art with beautiful color schemes. Use this Pearl Rose paint with your scarlet red and yellow green acrylic paints for today's creative challenge. Challenge number 6. What would the holiday season look like without poinsettias? Paint a beautiful poinsettia for today's creative challenge. We can't wait to see how your centerpieces turn out. Share your poinsettia with us on social media with hashtag Arteza Holidays. So I'm reading these challenges from the blog, not from the days. The challenges on the blog, as well as the descriptions on the blog, are a little bit longer and more written out than what was on the days. And I think I pointed that out on my day 12 review. I really feel like Arteza needs to make everything that goes with this kit accessible even if you don't have internet access, because there's a lot of people who either have spotty internet access or no internet access at all. So this is the point where I really wanted to start trying some different techniques, some stuff that I might do with watercolor, minus watering these paints down, because these paints do not take watering down well at all. So I started creating more elaborate kind of light and dark backgrounds as I became more comfortable with using these paints. Now, one thing I want to say about this challenge is it makes me want to pull out my Blick acrylics and do more painting from reference, because I found myself, even though I was often fighting with these paints, I found myself having a lot of fun. I also started to gain confidence. As you guys can see here, I made a sketch and then I totally painted over the sketch and then I sketched it again, which is something I just would not have been really confident in doing a while back. So day number 7 is the first metallic acrylic marker in silver. Our premium metallic acrylic markers invite artists to draw their paintings. This innovative marker makes painting easier, as it provides artists with more stability and control as they can create. Paint with complete confidence using our fine nib metallic acrylic markers. Use your new silver painting marker for today's creative challenge. Challenge number 7, silver bells. Silver bells, it's Christmas time in your sketchbook. Use your new silver metallic acrylic marker to paint a pair of holiday bells. Ring-a-ling. Hashtag Arteza holidays. So I believe the challenge on the door actually said a string of bells, but obviously I did not just paint a pair of bells. I painted strings of silver bells because I wanted to both play around with some of the silver acrylic paint that came in the metallic mix media Arteza art kit that I reviewed both as a live stream and as a time-lapse review for people who were shorter on time. And I also wanted to actually play around with their metallic silver marker. And something I noticed is that it tends to tarnish. Like, I'm not even joking. As I try to apply it, it started to tarnish on the, like, as I was using it. So I had to switch over to the silver metallic. So day 8, we actually get to use the small wood slices, which I think were a really fun inclusion. However, they want us to paint 3 things on this day, so I just did this as a day in and of itself, rather than trying to do 2 challenges on this day. Day 8, 3 small wood slices. Our premium wood slices are truly versatile canvas for artists. I want to stop myself here and just point out I did apply white acrylic first, just as a base for this, kind of like gesso, because wood is super absorptive, and the crack on this first one here got a lot worse over time. Our premium wood slices are a truly versatile canvas for artists. Creatives can burn, decorate, or paint these natural pine wood slices. We've taken the time to sand and polish the surface for your wood slices to save you the extra time and energy. Use the included wood slices for today's creative challenge. Be sure to share your work with us by tagging your work with hashtag Arteza holidays. Challenge number 8. 'Tis the season to reminisce on holiday memories. Use the 3 included wood slices to depict what your holidays, past, present, and future look like. We invite you to create with whatever supplies you'd like. This can include paints, collage, pens, and markers. Hashtag Arteza holidays. Now, one kind of complaint about, well, I have a few complaints about these wood cookies, but they're no different than any other wood cookies you would get in the store, except it would have been really cool if they'd had a hole pre-drilled or a magnet glued on the back, or just something to make them immediately more usable. I ended up kind of putting everything on my Christmas tree. I have a white Christmas tree, and I really liked how it all looked. It was cool to have an art tree this year, but having some kind of hang tag on this wood pre-drilled would have been really useful, because instead of drilling a hole into it after the fact, I could have just gone ahead and hung it up on my Christmas tree, and that would have made something like this, which is tiny and very cute, much more usable. So I painted a candle, I painted a wreath, I painted an ornament. I've always had kind of a very complicated relationship with Christmas, as many people do. I don't really want to think about Christmas past. This year's Christmas was kind of crummy, and I don't really want to think about Christmas future. So I kind of went with very simplified versions of my experiences with Christmas, my Christmas this year and my Christmases in the future. So after using all 3 wood slices on one day, it was kind of a bummer to go back to our little acrylic pad. So for day 8, we received another tube of acrylic paint, this time in titanium white. No acrylic paint collection would be complete without a tube of titanium white. Since our acrylic paints are super blendable, you can mix the color you desire effortlessly. Use this 22 milliliter tube of premium acrylic paint for today's creative challenge. Tag us on social media with hashtag Arteza Holidays for your chance to win weekly prizes. Challenge number 9, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Paint your own snow angel with your new titanium white acrylic paint tube. We're eager to see your take on today's snowy challenge. Hashtag Arteza Holidays. And they are, okay, so I have so many things to say about this. I used the heck out of that tube of acrylic. I mean, I basically used it up by the end of the challenge. And part of that is because for these to work, you have to have a base coat of acrylic paint on your paper, just kind of as a sacrifice, because you're not going to be able to do any blending. You're not going to be able to really get the paint on the paper because it wants to absorb all the liquid in the paint. So you are going to have to kind of gesso your paper first. You can do that with a colored layer, like I did with some of the blues and golds, or you can do it with white, but you definitely do need that tube of white acrylic paint to make any of this work. What I kind of don't understand is with white being such an essential color for snow and Christmas, I don't understand why they waited so long in the calendar to include that tube of white. I also found myself not really using their size 4 acrylic brush, and I relied heavily on like literally all the other acrylic brushes from my metallic mixed media set. So I don't know if it's just me, but the size 4 was not such a great size. Maybe it's just personal preference, because I'd prefer to work with the largest brush possible. And if you're applying a ground to your paper, you're probably going to want to do it with a flat. So for day number 10, we got another metallic tube of acrylic paint in pearl copper gold. We've included another acrylic metallic tube to add to your growing collection, this time in the color pearl copper gold. It's hard to imagine the holiday season without the gorgeous color gold. This shimmery shade will be perfect for today's creative challenge. Challenge number 10, use your new pearl copper gold acrylic metallic tube, oh, what a tongue twister, to paint a star for the top of a Christmas tree. Make sure your tree topping holiday star is truly unique for your chance to win one of our weekly prizes. Hashtag Arteza Holidays. And I actually don't know what any of their prizes are. I shared these, but I didn't share them in kind of a traditional way. I shared them over on TikTok. I shared them to my YouTube shorts. I shared them in batches over on Instagram, but I didn't do them day by day, sharing them to my Instagram. I just kind of forgot. Usually by the time I would finish these challenges, it'd be like 11 o'clock at night, and I just figured no one would be wanting to look at these. I don't know. I think I overthought myself. I also didn't want my Instagram to get just totally taken over by this challenge, since it's just something that I was doing for fun and to test out the materials that they included, and I knew I would probably have some not so positive things to say about what Arteza chose to include in this calendar. My number one complaint about Arteza is I just feel like their price point is kind of too very high for the sort of art supplies that they sell. And I've actually reviewed a lot of Arteza stuff here on the channel this year. You guys can check it out in my Arteza reviews. So while I feel like I'm probably coming across as kind of bitter, I also have a lot of experience with Arteza art supplies by now, and they typically all kind of underperform in various ways. So for day 11, we got an acrylic marker fine nib in the color Space Black. We've supplied you with another premium acrylic marker, this time in Space Black. Our acrylic markers are perfect for artists and crafters since they're suitable for a wide variety of surfaces, including canvas, wood, glass, ceramic, and some fabrics. Use this fine nib painting markers for today's creative challenge. Challenge 11, on Dasher, Prancer, Dancer, Vixen, on Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen. For today's challenge, we want to see your best silhouette of Santa's sleigh in action, using your new Space Black acrylic marker. Use the hashtag Arteza Holidays to share your work with artists from around the world. So I actually had a lot of fun with this one. I don't do a lot of silhouette work, but it's pretty popular on social media, so it was a quicker one to do, and it was also nice to do something that was not really normal for me or how I work. And then our final day, the metallic acrylic marker fine nib in gold. We're sure you already fell in love with our premium painting markers as you completed the creative challenges thus far, so we've decided to gift you one more in gold. We can't wait to see your take on today's creative challenge using our new acrylic metallic marker. Challenge 12. Your final holiday art challenge is to create a painting, drawing, or mixed media piece depicting dazzling Christmas lights. The gold metallic acrylic marker will be perfect for capturing the glow of your holiday lights. Share your finished piece with us on social media by tagging your post with hashtag Arteza Holidays. We hope you had yourself a holly jolly holiday season. Thank you for creating with us as we count down to Christmas. And I find that a lot of the verbiage, a lot of the language Arteza uses is very hype focused. And that's great. You should definitely hype up your own products. You should have faith in your own products. If you're not excited about your products, it's really hard to get other people to feel that way. And I feel that way about art as well. You gotta love your own art. Otherwise, it's so much harder to convince other people to do that. And it's really hard sometimes to love your own art. But I think I have a problem with them acting like they're giving us these things when we purchase these things or somebody purchased these things. They could literally, it's not as special sounding, it's not as Christmassy sounding, but as the person who bought this and is reviewing it, it does kind of rub me the wrong way. And even someone who received this calendar as a gift would know it's not Arteza giving them the calendar, it's someone in their life giving them the calendar. So it just kind of bugs me a little bit. Here are all 12 days of our Arteza Holiday Advent Calendar made with the 12 art supplies they included, plus a bunch of art supplies from the 2 art kits that I've also reviewed. I also have a review of the 24-day Advent Calendar. If you're curious about what they sent in that, I'm going to be giving away a 24-day Advent Calendar. You guys can find out how to enter to win it yourselves down in the description below. And spoilers, I did not win any of the hashtag Arteza Holidays challenges, but I had a lot of fun painting, but I do wish their acrylics were a lot better than they actually are. These are pretty low-end acrylics, but I still had fun painting, and I hope you guys had fun painting along with me over on TikTok and my YouTube shorts. I decided to deck my white Christmas tree with some of my paper children and some of the challenges from the Arteza 12-day art advent calendar. So you guys might see some familiar faces. I think it turned out really cute. I think that a white Christmas tree, especially a white fake Christmas tree like this one, actually does a really good job of displaying these kinds of art and ornaments. So I might end up decking my tree with these again next year and maybe creating some more handmade ornaments and art to show off on my little art tree.
So what did you guys think of all those challenges? That was a lot, right? So I did 2 every evening, and they took anywhere from 30 minutes to a couple of hours each to paint. So if you are doing these activities for fun and as a way to kind of pass the time when you're off from maybe work or school or from college, that could be a good way to do it. It certainly was engaging. And I ended up kind of realizing that I don't hate acrylics, which was kind of surprising for me because I really thought I hated acrylics. I took an acrylic class in college and I hated acrylics then. But there's something about this really small format that is just much more accessible and more inviting. Now, can I say that I don't hate acrylics anymore because of the Arteza acrylics? Absolutely not. Their acrylics are terrible, but it definitely makes me want to pull out my Blick acrylics and see if I can paint something that I actually enjoy. I don't think these are like the best art I've ever made, but that's kind of not the point. As somebody who paints on YouTube and creates comics, I'm very pressured to, or I feel very pressured and constrained sometimes to create these very specific types of art, and switching medium completely frees me up. There's no expectations whatsoever, and if it turns out good, that's great, and if it turns out terrible, that's great too. It's kind of like going back to when I was first starting at art and just made art just purely for the pleasure of it, not trying to earn a living from it, not trying to impress other people, just because it made me happy. And that's a joy that I'm really glad to have been able to rekindle this year. So I wanted to show you guys some of my favorites of the challenges. Some days were better than others, but I kind of found myself enjoying all the days. I can't even say it was necessarily the challenge prompts that I particularly enjoyed. Although, honestly, not having to think of an idea, just kind of painting along, did kind of take some of the pressure off, and it was kind of fun. I can see why people enjoy doing sort of art challenges where they're not the ones making up the prompts, they're working from somebody else's prompt list. It takes a lot of pressure off of you. So here, I tried to reassemble it, is our 12-day calendar. You guys might also remember that I have reviewed Arteza's 24-day calendar. So if you guys are curious about how these two calendars compare, I hope you'll check out my review for this one. I'm going to have spoiler-free, or I probably have already released them by now because I've already recorded the spoiler-free reviews for both the 24-day and the 12-day advent calendar, but since Arteza changes up their calendars year to year, I'm not sure that really matters because we're ending the year of 2021 anyway. Ending the year, nearing the end of 2021 anyway. But if you would like to win one of these for yourself, I am giving away a completely unopened, brand new 24-day Arteza advent calendar. You guys can find out how to win it in the description for this review, or I will have it in the description for the spoiler-free review as well. So good luck. Hopefully you win it. Best of luck to you. So I found that I really needed to add a lot of additional art supplies to make these challenges work. So I pulled a lot from my 2 Arteza art kits, particularly additional colors. I didn't want to grab all the colors because I felt like that would be kind of cheating, and I tried to use the supplies that came in the advent calendar itself as much as possible. So basically I was always trying to mix in those metallics, mix in the colors that they gave me, trying to make it work, or trying to showcase those in the art that I made, because I felt like that was more in the spirit of the challenge. But some of the colors they gave me, like the red was fine, the scarlet red, that was fine, but like this super light spring green kind of color doesn't work so well when you're painting dark evergreens. And I found that I really was like, they gave us challenges to paint like Christmas trees and garlands, and I found myself painting wreaths. That didn't work out so well. The gold and the blue were fine. The gold is more of like a reddish copper color, so I found myself mixing in an additional yellow to get like a bright gold sort of color. And as you guys can probably see, I basically used up the tube of white acrylic on this. So one of the problems with the acrylic paper that they gave us is it's not gessoed. It doesn't have any kind of a base, it's just paper, so it's super absorbent. So if you actually want to paint on it, I would recommend you put down a background color layer first and then paint on that. So basically gesso it with white or some other color. And you guys saw me do that in all of, maybe not the pumpkin one, but you guys saw me do it in pretty much all of these other ones. And it worked so much better once you were painting on top of a layer that wasn't so absorbent. That's why inexpensive acrylic papers often have that kind of plasticly layer on them. It's so that the paper itself doesn't suck up all the paint. These paints are terrible though. They don't really paint so much as you glop them on with the equally terrible brush. I mean, it's a match made in hell, to be real. Like the brushes are not particularly good for use with acrylics, and the acrylics are really pretty poor, and they don't mix, the colors don't mix really well, and they certainly don't mix well on your paper, and it's just kind of a struggle. I still had fun with it, but I kind of had fun with it in spite of the paints. So that's why I say I'm looking forward to trying a different kind of acrylic in the future. In fact, I know why a lot of the promo art for Arteza's acrylics looks like very painterly, and there's like a lot of impasto techniques. That's where you kind of build up the paint. It's because that's kind of the only way you can use these paints, and I ended up relying really heavily on those techniques as well. Like I was really dabbing the paint on there, just trying to get the color to stick to the paper. So that is a big downside with the Arteza acrylics. They're just not fun to paint with. I know Arteza doesn't make these themselves. They're actually white labeling them from another company. So my advice, my unsolicited, unasked for, totally honest advice is, Arteza, work with a different company. This is not working for you. This is not working in your favor. And this is their premium line. They do have an expert line, but their expert line has very little in it. So if they ever choose to do an expert line of acrylics, I would recommend going with a different manufacturer if possible. So that was all 12 days of the Arteza Holidays Challenge using the supplies in the Arteza Advent Calendar as well as the supplies from my Arteza art kits that I reviewed with you guys. It's been a very Arteza holidays, hasn't it? Very, very Arteza-ful. Well, that's because they had some sales on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and I have no impulse control, so here we are. Thank you guys so much for making this possible, because frankly, this is only possible thanks to the support of my awesome patrons on Patreon. So before we go, I would really appreciate it if you guys took a moment to hit the subscribe button if you're new here. And even if you're not here, do me a huge favor and click that bell notification and make sure that you have your YouTube notifications on. Several of you guys have told me that you don't actually receive notifications, and I spoke to YouTube about it, and they pointed out to me that only 2.8 of you guys actually have notifications for YouTube on. So if you want to get notifications for when I notifications. If you want to get notifications for when I update, then you need to have your YouTube notifications on so YouTube can actually let you know. I bet you there's a bunch of cool stuff you're missing out on from other channels too. So just do me a big favor and double check that, because it would really mean a lot to me if I could get my view count up for 2022. And I have 15.8 of y'all hanging out with me theoretically, so I would like to see like 1,000 views per video. That would really mean a lot to me, and surely like 1/15 of y'all are interested in 1/15 of what I'm sharing. So make sure you click that and you check and make sure that YouTube is actually notifying you of when I update so that you know. But if you don't want notifications from YouTube, I honestly totally understand. I get really annoyed with my phone going bing, 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 bing all the time. So once a week, I share a patron update set to public on my Patreon where I recap everything that happened that week. And I often share like blog posts and like semi-tutorial kind of things. So if you miss my old blog and you enjoy that kind of content and you'd like to know what you missed during the week, you should definitely check out my Patreon updates over on Patreon at patreon.com/nettasoup. And you don't even have to be a patron to see those. Those are set to public. And then finally, I didn't have time, just like I didn't have time to finish this review, I didn't have time before Christmas to review these, but I have 2 more art kits that I want to review with you guys. And both of these, I purchased them from Walmart. We have Walmart Prime now, and I was trying it out. It's not such a great deal. I don't really recommend it. They say they deliver stuff that isn't normally up for delivery, and then they don't, and you have to go pick it up anyway. So there's no point to Walmart Prime. But I have a Daler Rowney Complete Artist Kit. So it's got acrylics, it's got oil pastels, it has color pencils, and I want to review this with you guys during an unboxing swatch live stream because I had so much fun doing the Arteza unboxings with you guys. And then I'm gonna have to like pause for a second to grab it because this thing is huge. So give me a sec. I have a really big Royal Langnickel art set. So I'm really trying hard to find some art sets that aren't terrible. And I think the Arteza mix, their names are such a mouthful. The Arteza Metallic Mixed Media set was actually pretty good. It wasn't terrible. The other Arteza Mixed Media set I reviewed was hugely disappointing. So I'm hoping, even though I have not had good experiences with Royal Langnickel or Daler Rowney, it was the nicest that Walmart typically sells. So hopefully one of these 2 sets is a good one. So a little mini tangent regarding art sets. A lot of art supply companies don't actually offer art sets anymore for adults, or for more serious artists, I should say, other than like the Faber-Castell Carl box that they were doing a few years ago, and I am not paying $1,000 for the Carl box. So that's kind of a bummer because I'd really like to see art companies take creating holistic sets for people who want to dive into something seriously. And when I say art set, I mean Winsor & Newton has like watercolor kits where it's just like the palette and the paints. when I'm talking about an art kit, I'm talking about most of the things you would need to get started with that medium. I'd love to see more companies take that seriously and offer those. Maybe those just don't sell well, I don't really know. But I do know that cheaper art kits are very popular as gifts for people who would like to give the gift of art. And that's why I continue to review art kits. I can't afford to do a bunch of them every year, but I try to do at least one. This year, I will have done 4. So it's really important to me to make art more accessible to more people. That's why I teach at the public library. It's why I do YouTube tutorials. And that's why I review inexpensive art supplies with you guys, because it's really important to make art more accessible so that you guys can make art a habit. So I hope you guys will keep an eye out. This thing is so big. I hope you guys will keep an eye out. You know, maybe turn on those notifications for when the live stream unbox and swatch for this kit and this kit go live, because I'm really looking forward to hanging out with you guys, unboxing, swatching, and talking about what works and what doesn't work in these 2 art kits. So I'm recording this on Christmas Eve. I opted to stay home from a party because I just did not want to go to a party. And so I know I missed the holidays, but I hope my reviews have been helpful, useful, and informative for you guys over the years. For 2021, instead of doing my top 10 of 2021, I decided to open it up to you guys and ask you guys, what are your favorite art supplies that I've reviewed in 2021? What are your favorite tutorials? What are your favorite, almost like tool chests. What is with my brain? Almost... What are your favorite tutorials? What are your favorite field tests? And what are the worst products, the most disappointing products I've reviewed in 2021? I have a Google Doc up on my Patreon, set to public again. So please take a minute to vote to let me know what you loved and what you hated from 2021, because in 2022, I want to do an award show. I'm going to call it the Arties, where we give out awards to the best and worst videos and art supplies from 2021. So I think that's going to be a blast, but I can only make it possible if you guys vote. So please make sure you do that as well. So I'm going to have links to everything you need. This was a super long video. I don't want to make it too much longer. So I hope you guys have a safe, happy, and warm winter. May 2022 be kinder, gentler, and better for all of us. And let's make some art together in 2022. Bye, guys!